So hello, everybody. Welcome to our coaches, Coxswains competitors meeting for the 52nd HOSR. Let me make sure everybody is muted here. All right, you guys should be able to see my screen at this point in time. So welcome. We're going to try to get through everything in about 35, 40 minutes this evening. So welcome. My name is Jen Wesson. I'm the Executive Director of the Head of the Schuylkill Regatta. We thank you for being here this evening. This is being recorded, just so everybody knows. Everybody is muted, but you have the ability to unmute yourself if you have a question. Let's go ahead and save our questions to the end. But if you could and would like to put questions in the chat room, I can start answering those questions when I turn it over to the chief referee. So let's get started here. I have my Phillies hat on. You'll probably see me like this all weekend, so I figured it was a good idea to wear it this way this evening, so you guys can all recognize me over the weekend. Tonight, I'm going to go through just some of the logistical things from the LOC side, and then I will have Paul Caputo and Tony Denofa, our co-chiefs, along with Duncan Hudson, review some of the race course specifics as well as the rules. I am recording this, so you can share this with your teammates, and I will post it immediately after the meeting to the website, as well as send it out again via email. So just real quickly, this is the overview of our footprint. You can see that we cover, a 3-mile area. This is an older map, but it does its purpose. As you can see, at the bottom here, below the finish line is Boathouse Row, and then you work your way up. Right around the area, number 4 is the Three Angels. You'll hear us refer to that area quite a bit. And then all the way up past the Canoe House, McGill and Gillen Boat Club is number 6 there. And then working your way up to the start line. There are bridges that we do not pass, the twin bridges, where you can see at the very top. And what we'll talk about in a little bit further is once you get past that finish line, there will be a turning buoy. You'll immediately paddle and you'll work your way back up the east side of the river. Sorry, guys, for the pause. Lots of folks coming in late. This is the course map. We'll go over this in a little bit more detail, but I wanted to give you some reference here of the arches that you would go through. Here is the Three Angels docking area. You'll head up the east side, as you know. This area is, just be aware of crews that are launching from the Canoe House area. You can use lane 0, 1, and 2 to work your way up into the marshalling area and the chute. And then the marshals will have you turn and start your way up into the race chute. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail, but you can see here it's pretty well marked with the arches that you would take. The arches are also going to have large triangle buoys to each side of the arch. So that'll be consistent all the way down the race course. So you know exactly what arch to go through as you hit each bridge. It'll look exactly the same. The one thing I did want to point out is the finish line is just as it was in 2021. Which is about 150 meters shy of the traditional Head of the Schuylkill race course. And that is because the safety wire, that is the yellow line at the bottom of the map, is is down, and it's been down since Hurricane Ida last September. So that is in the process of being reinstated, and we just want to make sure everybody stays safe and stays far away from that area and the dam. So we shorten the course by a little bit. It pretty much ends about 200 meters after the Girard Avenue Bridge. And that'll be, again, marked with large orange triangle buoys. This is just a close-up of the Three Angels area. Again, an older map, but it just gives you an idea of the dock traffic. We'll have 3 ramps going down to the dock. The most northern upstream ramp will always be launching. The middle ramp will be launching and returning according to how the dock masters have it set at that point in time. Which way the traffic is going. And then the southernmost ramp will always be the returning ramp. All right, and you'll have boat trailers up above the docks and below the docks. Again, this is the Three Angels area you'll hear referred to quite a bit. The festival tent is going to be a little bit smaller, but still in this main area with the race announcing. The headquarters tent is also located in this area, and I'll go over what would be there, as well as the awards tent, places to come, take your picture, and we'll have an information tent out here as well. Just so you know, we'll have porta pots and hand sanitation areas all along the path up and down Kelly Drive. The EMTs will be centrally located right here on Kelly Drive below the drop-off zone here, right? And this is actually just a little bit of the updated aerial of this map. So here we have the Three Angels. You'll have your awards booth here with some vendors. This is the headquarters tent we spoke about. So any type of protests or penalties or any questions, last minute scratches should be referred to the headquarters tent. The information tent is set out on the path. Please stop. And then we'll have vendors lining the path between the Kelly Drive and the gravel path. So just a few notes about entries this year. We have over 1,950 entries, 260 clubs. The racing schedule will start at 8 a.m. on Saturday. I believe the last race is 5:05. And Sunday, just everybody be aware that that is a 7:45 a.m. start. And in most cases, we have launch criteria for how long before a race you can launch, particularly on Sunday for the first 10 races or so. We're going to stick to a half-hour launch time. So no earlier launching than 7:15, and that's just because we are racing against the sun there. So getting us a little bit of sunlight before anybody gets on the water. All right, I already talked about the shortened course due to the lack of the safety wire. So just please make sure every coxswain and competitor is aware of that. I noted where the festival area is. We used to have one big festival tent with everything underneath of it. Due to COVID last year, we kind of spread things out and we stayed with that hybrid footprint again this year. Both the Three Angels and the Canoe House area docks will be in use. So the Canoe Club area lot is an overflow for trailers to park there. There are a number of trailers already there. Some displaced Boathouse Row folks are up there right now. So it is tight, but our parking attendants, when you come in with your trailer, will make sure that they get you safely to the best place possible. We will shut down Kelly Drive. So one-way traffic beginning on Friday at 7 p.m. Through Sunday at 6:30 p.m. So what that means is that overnights on Friday and Saturday, cars and chuck wagons and things like that can be left on the drive. We won't allow anybody to enter overnight, but if you're there and you're staying, you will be fine there. And then just I wanted to note that there is a separate virtual race going on Regatta Central. So if you, so there's no confusion there. people loved having the virtual race. And so we did throw it out there this year so those folks could participate. All right, just health and safety protocols real fast. Looks like we have somewhat turned the COVID corner. So our protocols are just in line with local regulations right now. There's no masking, there's no proof of vaccination at this point in time, though we do encourage it. Spectators are welcomed back to the river, so it should be exciting. Chuck wagons and tents can return as well. And we will have sanitation sinks and sanitation areas in a lot of the touch points throughout the race course as well. This is something that we need everyone to be aware of. And when boat was registered, you checked off that you would abide by this. So it's really important for us, for as many people within your teams, to know about the code of conduct. And I want to read it here just because I want folks to know that it's important to us. We want Philadelphia and the head of the Schuylkill and all Philadelphia regattas to be welcoming. We want people to feel like, you know, they're coming home and that, you know, they're going to have a great experience in Philadelphia. So we ask everyone to behave in a respectful and friendly manner to all people attending, treat all regatta attendees fairly, regardless of gender, ethnicity, race, disability, sexual identity, orientation, age, faith, or expression, and refrain from any type of racist or offensive speech or actions. If we hear of any type of you know, these behaviors, we would obviously reach out to the coaches and the competitor to talk about that. And then the last thing I want everyone to know about is the safe sport policy. It is posted on the HOSR website. If you want to take some time to review it, it is very close to US Rowing's template. And I think the important thing there is to know how to report any type of sexual and non-sexual misconduct. And that would be, you know, through the Center for Safe Sport and myself. So those directions for reporting are within the Safe Sport policy. Okay, let's get down to registration hours and locations. We're back to Lloyd Hall this year. So on Friday, October 28th from 4 to 7, registration opens. And I did want to note, since there are lots of adults on this call and you know, students are welcome to join in and visit people as well. But after you pick up your packet, there will be a casual happy hour with light hors d'oeuvres and stuff outside of Lloyd Hall at Cosmic Cafe. So everybody's welcome to come and just kick off the weekend and see some new and old friends. Registration continues there on Saturday morning at 6:30. And then it will move on Saturday evening to University Barge Club through Sunday morning. This information again is on Regatta Central as well as on our website. If you cannot make one of these times, please just reach out to info@hosr.org and we'll make sure that we get you your packet. There will be someone staffing all day long, and we want to be sure that everybody gets racing. So if something happens, you're tied up in traffic and whatnot, just make sure that you're reaching out so we can get that packet to you. And just a note about lightweight rowers may weigh in the evening before or the morning of their first race, and weigh-ins happen right at on-site registration. Just a couple things that, you know, just to point out, the live streaming will be taking place. We'll have kind of QR codes all over the place if you just want to quickly go to it from your phone. You know, so we encourage everybody to share those links before the regatta, so folks can watch you if they're not making the trip. But also, you know, check in and see those great viewpoints of your teammates, as well as your own boat coming down the river during the live streaming. There will be some food trucks parked throughout the Three Angels area. Results kiosks will be located in the awards tent. So you can walk up at any point in time and get results there. And be patient if results are not deemed official. Our awards folks will not give out medals until they're deemed official. So if something is unofficial, it just means that a protest was lodged, and until that's worked out, they can't name it as an official race. Again, information booth will be a red tent this year out by the path. Please visit. They got some goodies to give away there, and you could pick up a program book and any type of information that you need, including lost and found. If you find something or if you've lost something, go to the information booth. Awards and medals go to first, second, and third place. In most cases, if there's less than 3 votes, we'll just award gold medal. Winners also get championship hats. So make sure that you are coming down into the award tent and picking up your gear. And even if you did not come in first, second, or third place, come to the award tent, get on the stage, take some pictures with your team, and, make it a memorable experience for your team. Posters will be available for sale for $10 in the information booth. Again, we have a ton of vendors in the award tent as well as outside along the path. I talked about registration in the program book. Protests and penalties. If you have any questions at all, just go to that headquarters tent. If there's an emergency or there's an injury, the EMS is right on site at Three Angels, and an HOSR representative will also come over to accompany you to, just to be a contact and a representative of the regatta. And the EMS can also, is mobile. It does go down to the canoe house area as well. So just grab any type of volunteer and they will immediately call EMS to help. Talked about lost and found and docks. Just before there is in your registration packet just some rules on coming to the docks. Try to keep your launching as timely as possible. We like to say 1 minute. We know that's realistic and unrealistic in some places, but do your very best. Our volunteers are working their butts off to keep everybody safe and keep everybody moving in an orderly fashion. And I just mentioned about oars. You can have folks, team members, bring your oars down to the dock and then immediately leave the dock. And the same thing for when you're coming in. You can have folks come down to pick up your oars as well. And every year we are left with a ton of oars that we have to get back to different folks. So before you leave Philadelphia, make sure that you have counted and that you have all of your oars. I did just want to point out our stewardship goals. This is something we do every year. We are an official zero waste and litter-free regatta. And, this specifically means that our goals include trying to not use single-use individual water-sized water bottles. So as teams, if you could bring jugs of water or igloo coolers, we appreciate that, and use reusable bottles. Zero litter at all times on the grounds. So if you see someone else's litter, help us by picking it up, or letting folks know. You can even let a volunteer know. But if you can keep your area around your trailer tidy, that would be awesome. Recycle, we'll have recyclable bins as well next to every waste bin. If you have bags of trash coming from your trailer or tent area, just place them next to those bins, because then they get overwhelmed and they start to spill over. So if you already have bag stuff, just place it next to the bins, and the city will be coming through throughout the day to pick up the waste. And our goal really is overall to make sure that the park looks better than how we found it. So with that, I'm going to say be safe, row hard, have fun, and I am going to turn it over to one of our co-chiefs, Paul Caputo. Paul? You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Oh, there we go. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jen. Welcome, everybody. My name is Paul Caputo. I'm one of the co-chiefs, along with Tony Denofer, is also a co-chief, and Duncan Hudson. Before we start, I just want to give a shout out to Jen and Mitch, his wife Diane, the head of the Schuylkill Regatta board, and the hundreds of volunteers that are going to be worked tirelessly before, during, and after the weekend. They all do a great job. And we just wanted, as part of the referee corps, we wanted to recognize their dedication and their effort, and we appreciate everything that they do for us and what they do for you, and they make our job easier, which helps make your job easier. So welcome everybody to the 52nd Head of the Schuylkill Regatta. We've assembled a great group of referees. Combined, we have over 100 years of refereeing experience. Many of them have been on the Schuylkill River for many, many years. We know the river backwards and forwards. We've also worked with many of the head of the Schuylkill Regattas, and we all have one goal in mind. It's to promote safety and fairness for all the teams competing. This is a U.S. rowing registered regatta, so we're governed by the U.S. rowing rules of rowing. I'd like to start. I know Jen has probably touched base on some of this, and you have something in your packet, but I'm sorry if I double talk about something, but it's important to go over certain areas again and again. I want to talk about the control and travel lanes. Start off, there are three primary launching areas: Boathouse Row, Temple Boathouse, which is otherwise known as Canoe Club, and the majority of teams will be launching from Three Angels control area. I would suggest that before you send your crews down to one of the control areas, to have them do a safety check on their boats. Have them check the bow balls, make sure to secure, check the heel ties, no more than 3-inch play inside in the shoes before they come down to the launch docks. Because we're going to be doing our safety checks, and if something is wrong, we're going to pull you out of the line, and then you're going to have to wait or go back to wait for somebody to come down and give you heel ties and so on. And it's just going to be delay your launching. Please make sure that you have a bow number firmly attached to the bow of your shell, that it's visible. Shirt numbers must also be worn and visually is displayed. I think Jen also put that in the packet, and that's important. We're going to have a lot of boats on the water, and we need to know who you are, and we need to know it has to be visible. So we're not going to launch any teams without a bow number firmly attached and visible. We're not going to have any personnel on the boathouse docks, boathouse row docks, but we will have a referee marshal near the lighthouse. And if they see that one of those teams are not have a bow number, we're going to have them turn them around, go back to boathouse, and go get a bow number, and we're not going to let them travel up to the start. Jen had said those docks are going to be quite busy, and we want minimal amount of people that are going on the docks. We also need, teammates, parents, and others should stay away from those control areas. Coaches and small amount of personnel or helping the teams getting on and off the docks would be suffice. We're launching about 700 crews on Saturday and about 1,200 on Sunday. Most of them are going to be at Three Angels. That's a very stressful areas. And so we don't want to make it any more stressful than it really is anyway. I know Jen mentioned this about oars. They should be accompanied onto the dock when the crews are launching the boat onto the dock. Try to limit the amount of time they're going to be on the dock. She mentioned 1 minute off the dock. We'll try to continue. The dock master would try to push forward and keep that time frame. That's important. Any delay launching, not having oars or delay, basically that's delaying the regatta, not launching, they can also get a penalty. And we'll talk about penalties later on in the presentation. I'll go over those. Jen, can you put up the course map? That one there, yes, perfect. Once the crews have launched, you'll be traveling on the east side, which is the Kelly Drive side. There's going to be a row of yellow buoys all the way from the finish line, all the way through the Strawberry Mansion Bridge. It's going to be in lane 0. And all the crews traveling north would need to keep those buoy lines to your port side. You should never cross those lines because the other side of that is the racing lanes. It would be, if you're traveling north to the start, it's probably better for you to stay closer to the buoy line. Just be careful that your oars don't cross that, because if they're on the other side is the racing lanes. And if you interfere with any crew coming down, you're going to be either excluded or penalized on that respect. The crews that are going back to recovery, we prefer to have those right next to the shoreline. So that's where the docks are. And this way it would not impede any crews, and there won't be any problems going in and out. There's going to be nobody crossing the course, okay? So going up in recovery is all going to be done on the east side. When you're traveling, if you notice, when you're traveling through the Girard Avenue Bridge, the Railroad Bridge, and the Columbia Bridge, the travel lane is the first arch. Obviously, there's going to be a buoy line that's signified between the first and second arches. The travel lane is always going to be the first arch. When traveling through the Girard and Amtrak bridges, and pretty much the Columbia Bridge also, you're going to be traveling single file. There's a shallow area between the Girard and the railroad bridges. It's shallow, it's got some rocks over there. We'll also have a marshal on the shore helping with that, but you should be traveling single file through those bridges. And once you get up to Strawberry Mansion Bridge, like Jen said, you'll be able to go through the first and the second arch. And at that point, before I turn it over to Tony, who's our marshaling coordinator for the weekend, he's going to talk about the marshaling area through the start. But I wanted to talk about the launching times. I think this is in your packet, but I want to go over that again. If you're launching from Boathouse Row, we figure about 45 to 50 minutes before your race is sufficient enough time to get up to the marshaling area, be able to start. If you're launching from Three Angels, about 30 to 40 minutes before your race time, and tempo control between 15 and 20 minutes would be sufficient. The docks at Three Angels, because of the sunrise, and the sun is getting later and later, sunrise, we're going to be opening up around 7:15, between 7:10 and 7:15. I know on Sunday mornings there's early races. It's a couple of 7:45 races. That would only give you about 30 to 35 minutes. So be aware that if you're in that early race, we're only going to be opening up at 7:10, not give you the 40 minutes. Obviously, if you're recovering at Boathouse and Temple, you're going to go back to Boathouse and Temple, and Three Angels docks. But if you're launching from Temple Dock, you're going to recover at City Dock. City Dock is a wooden dock that's below, it's on the map, it's below St. Joe's. That's where you're going to be recovering if you're launching from the Temple Canoe House. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Tony, who's going to take you from Strawberry Mansion Bridge up through the marshaling area and through the start area.
Oh, thank you, Paul. So what we consider the marshaling area will be from Strawberry Mansion Bridge all the way almost up to the twin bridges. So we like you to come up lane 0, which is really the first arch of Strawberry Mansion Bridge. That's the east side, also known as the Kelly Drive side. Right about in that area, from the Strawberry Bridge to what we call the 1,500 meter sprint start, it's a little bit wider there. And if we get some high numbered, bow number boats, you're going to be asked to kind of pull over towards Kelly Drive, towards the bank, and we're going to push the lower number boats upriver. We're going to have at least 7 marshals going from Strawberry Bridge all the way up to about the 2100 and making the turn to the left as you're looking at the map to the West River Drive side. There's basically about up there, there's 4 marshals, 2 on the west side and 2 on the east side. And again, coming back down towards Strawberry in lane 0, which is all the upriver traffic, we'll have 3 or 4 marshals in that area. Now, marshals will ask some crews to go by and get up into the section of where they belong with the bow numbers. So if you're asked to hold to Kelly Drive, just please respect that. We're just trying to get the lower number boats that need to be in their event upriver, up towards the start. We also ask that odd bow numbers, which will be lane 5 when we're going to come down through the chute, and the even bow numbers, which are lane 4, as you're coming upriver through Strawberry, we would ask that the odd bow numbers stay towards the Kelly Drive side, and the even bow numbers be a little bit inside of that, towards the, not on the course, but just inside. So what happens is if we get a little bit backed up and we might go up to where that 2.5 mile mark is there and start doing a 2-boat turn. Now, when we do that, the outside or Kelly Drive side will be lane 5. So when you make the turn, you'll be making the wider turn so that when you do come down towards the chute and the start line, you'll already be on your lane 5 side of the course. And the lane 4 or even bow number will be on the inside of that. We kind of only implement that if we feel we need to catch up or we're a little backed up. Now, what's going on from Strawberry up to the 2K will be a buoy line of red buoys all the way up. So that'll be a safety line, basically lane 0 going all the way up to the 2K. Then we make a turn, picture a shepherd's hook from the right-hand side of your screen to the left-hand. Now about the 2100, we should have 2, we'll call them small yellow triangle buoys. And then at the start, that'll signify the top up there. Then we'll have a chute from the 2000 to the 1900. Actually, let me correct that. At the 2000, we'll have 2 yellow buoys signifying the start of the chute. You'll have 100 meters. The clock will start at the 1900 meters mark. At that line will also be 2 yellow triangles. That's when the clock starts. The starter and assistant starter and spotters and start team will be up on the wall on the Kelly Drive side. They'll say things like bow 325, ready, 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 row. And that's when the clock will start. There should be a PA system over there, and that'll be at the 1900 on the Kelly Drive side, and it will make it out there to your lanes 4 and 5. Down, you're going to come down lanes 4 and 5 through the chute. We're pretty much going to do on 15-second in opposite lanes, 15 seconds opposite lanes. Some we may be able to get to 20 or 30 seconds, but most of the time, count on being a 15-second difference between opposite lanes. So that means within the same lane, the boat behind you in that same lane left 30 seconds later, and they're going to be coming down and continue down through the chute and beginning their race. At Strawberry Mansion, what we call lane 7, which is way out by the west side or the left side of your map, there'll be another marshal over there. I believe we call that, it doesn't matter, we call it M14. We'll have somebody there also. So if anything happens through the chute and down to Strawberry, a marshal will be there. At the Strawberry Bridge, as Jen mentioned, we should have 2 yellow triangles, larger ones, signifying that arch. That arch is labeled at the top of the bridge 4, 5, and 6, and you have to go through that arch. Again, the 2 yellow triangle buoys, and that should hold true all the way down the course. Always look for 2 yellow triangles. That's the arch you're going between those 2 yellows. That's the arch you need to go through. And if you have any questions, throw it in the chat, and Jen will probably notify me, and maybe I can answer it about what we're doing from Strawberry up to the 2100. We also might move you a little higher when we get to 8s. And a lot of 8s, we might go up even higher, but we'll always be on this side of those twin bridges. Nobody is to go past and into those twin bridges. It's not safe through there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. So I'm going to talk about now is the racing lanes from Strawberry Mansion Bridge all the way down to the finish. Give everybody an idea of what they should be looking for and what they're how they're going to be racing. Obviously, like Tony said, you're going to be going through the racing arch. On the Strawberry Mansion Bridge, you're going to go through the 4, 5, 6 arch, which is the 3rd arch. On the other side, it's a straight run, pretty much on a diagonal down to the 2nd arch of Columbia. There's going to be no starboard buoy lines from Strawberry Mansion Bridge to the top of Peters Island. There will be a port. Obviously, there'll be a port buoy line, which is the yellow line, which separates the travel lane from the racing lane. To give you a visual as you're approaching Columbia Bridge, if you across the north side of Peters Island is a steel cable. Crews that have already been launching or racing on the Schuylkill know that there is a wire that goes between Peters Island across the river to the land on the east side with lane numbers 1 through 6 that hang down. That those signify the travel lane, racing lanes for sprint racing that they usually do in the spring and the summer. So as a quick reference, if your crews are coming down and they are under pretty much the 2, 3, 4 lane lines, they're in probably a good position to approach the 2nd arch of Columbia. And that's probably about 275 meters away at that point. If they're going under the 5, 6 lane lines or too far out and they're too close to Peters Island, they are too far starboard, and they need to head port more and go so they can go onto the 2nd arch. I believe there's going to be a buoy line from the south of Peters Island to the bridge abutment for the 2nd arch. If they go through that buoy line, if they're too far starboard, and if they go through a wrong arch, they're going to be penalized. So they have to go through the 2nd arch. After Columbia, there is a port turn. It's a pretty significant turn that they're going to have to follow. There's going to be red buoys on the starboard side, pretty much every 75 meters, and there's going to be yellow buoys in between them all the way through the turn. They should not cross any buoy lines. If they do, they're going to be penalized. And I'll talk about the penalties for crossing buoys in a few minutes. Once they come out of the turn, it's going to be a straight line down to the railroad bridge. Again, after the turn, there's going to be no starboard buoys. There will be the port buoy lines. I said that's going to be all the way. That's going to be a yellow buoy line, which signifies the traffic and racing lanes. But about 150 meters or so from the railroad bridge, there should be another set of buoys on the starboard side as sort of like a funnel to lead you into the 2nd arch, and the second arch is the correct arch to go under. Once you go through that arch, there's going to be a slight starboard turn through the second arch of Gerard. Either way, if those buoy lines, those funnel buoy lines are not there, there are going to be large yellow triangles on the north side of all three of those bridges, which is Strawberry Mansion Bridge, Columbia Avenue, and the Railroad Bridge, signifying the correct arch. So you tell your crews, if they go between two yellow buoys, two large yellow buoys, they're going through the correct arch. And that's what they should be shooting for. Once you get out of Gerard, it's like another 200 meters down to the finish. There's going to be a yellow buoys that signify the travel lane to the finish line. The last 100 meters, those buoys are going to turn red just to signify that there's 100 meters to go. And there's going to be two large orange triangle buoys signifying the finish line. So you'll know where the finish line is. Once they finish the race, there's going to be marshals. There's going to be 3 finish marshals down there directing you back to recovery. Obviously, if you launched at Boathouse, you're going to go down the Boathouse. But if you launched from Three Angels or Temple, you're going to go port. You're going to go back up through lane 0, which is the Kelly Drive side. You know, while traveling, just remember when traveling to the Gerard Avenue and the railroad bridges, single file, very shallow with the rocks on the right-hand side. There should be a safety line identifying that area, but if not, just want to make you aware of that. Also, as part of the safety team is a marine launch, marine boat under the Columbia Bridge that's going to be tied up against the side. So I just want to make you aware of that. So as you're coming up for either the start or back to recovery, just make you aware that there'll be a marine launch there. I don't want you to smack into it and get a ticket for reckless rowing. Okay. Just a joke. That's all I have on. That's the race course. I have a few things. I want to talk about penalties. I mentioned penalties, and I want to go over what could happen or what could be assessed to the crews. The first one is a buoy violation, and I talked about that. It's a 10-second violation for each buoy missed, and what that means is the complete shell has to be over the line, not just the oars. And this is more for the racing lane. Obviously, if you're in the travel lane going up to the start or back to recovery, you don't want to be even having your oars over that buoy line, because that's the racing lane on that side. And if you interfere with any racing crews coming down, you're either going to get a penalty or you're going to get excluded at that point. The next penalty is called a delay of regatta. It's a 30-second penalty. It's interfering with the progress of the regatta, and I talked about that on the control. If you do delay the regatta for some reason, launching some reason, you forget your oars or whatever it is, you could be assessed a penalty at that point. There's a failure to yield penalty. That's a 30-second penalty. That's issued to crews from an overtaking crew from one boat length. So if a crew is coming up on another boat and within one boat length, the overtaking crew need to move to a safer lane and move to an area where it won't be impeding upon the team that's going by. There is one catch to that. If the crew is being overtaken, cannot be forced off the course. They can't be forced into a bridge, abutment, or otherwise an unsafe position. And then in that case, if that happens, then the other crew will be issued an interference penalty. And there won't be a failure to yield penalty. You can't force a crew into an unsafe position or force them over the yellow buoy line into the travel lanes or off the course. Another penalty is an interference penalty. It's a 30-second penalty. It's impeding another crew's progress or forcing an overtaking crew to an unsafe position. Traffic pattern violation is another penalty. It's 30 seconds. That's the crews interfering on the traffic lane with the racing crews. That's going up. That's for the crews that are going up to the start and to back to recovery. There's a wrong arch penalty. If racing down and you go through the wrong arch, that's a 30-second penalty that could be assessed upon the team. That's more for racing. If the traveling teams are, if you're going up to the start and recovering, you're going in the wrong arch, you're in the racing lane. You're in a heap of trouble. So please, going up there, make sure you're in the first arch going up. And then most of the time you're in the second arch coming down for racing. The last penalty is unsportsmanlike conduct. It's a major penalty. It's 60-second penalty. It's based on the head of the school rules code of conduct, which Jen went over. And that means the crew can be penalized at any time, anywhere. A couple more things. I just want to go over some of the some general information. I want to talk about crews that are late to start, meaning that the next event has already started. You can be late into your event, and Tony and his crew will put you in at the end of an event. But if you miss that event and you get up there late, I think pretty much the only safe way to get you down the course is to let you race, and Tony or his crew will put you into the race at some point. But you're going to be racing for FTO, which is 4-time only, and you're not going to be able to race for an award. And so, and that's up to Tony's and his start team's discretion about when to put you in if you do miss a race. If your crew flips anywhere on the race course, whether it's up to the start, up back to or coming down the race course, you are done. We're going to fish you out of the water. We're going to get you off to the side. The weather is cold, especially in the mornings. We're worried about hypothermia. And so our marshals are going to help you, get you out of the water, and we'll probably send you to the medical team, have you looked at, make sure everything is okay. But your racing day is done the moment you flip in the water. For safety reasons, we have 2 marine boats on the water. I talked about the one at Columbia. There's also going to be one at the Temple Boathouse, St. Joe's area. And the main medical team, Jen mentioned, will be at Regatta headquarters near the festival tent. We also have 12 marshals on the water and 6 marshals on land to help promote safety and fairness. And so we'll be able to see anything that goes wrong or help crews that are looking for failure to yield and interference penalties. Last thing I want to talk about is objections. If by chance a team feels like they've been interfered with, or just it hasn't been a fair race for them, we have 3 marshals down past the finish line. Please get their attention, raise your hand, call them over, whistle, whatever it is, get their attention. They'll be glad to speak to you, and they'll be able to direct you if you wanted to make a protest, what to do when the protest, how to go ahead and do a protest. You're going to be protesting at the P&P tent, which is next. The P&P tent is inside the Regatta headquarters tent, and then you'll be able to lodge a protest at that point. Just remember that this is head racing. We can't deduct any time off your race. We can't change the order of finish. The only thing we can do is penalize the offending crew. Either we can exclude them or we can give them excessive penalties. Unfortunately, that is all we can do for head racing. The last area is breakage. If a team has breakage before racing, they can try and fix it, but unfortunately, they can't be late to the start. That's just the way it is. If they have breakage in the first 100 meters, which is from the chute to the start. Sorry, not from the chute, from the start to 100 meters down from that. they can pull off. They can try to fix it on the water if it's just whatever it is. But they can. But they can't be late to the start. They can come back up again. Tony's team will pull back up into the start areas and run the chute again. But they cannot be late to the start, which means they can't miss their event. Once the next event happens, there's no longer their chance to go down the race. That's all I have right now. If there's any questions, Jen, you can fire them away.
I'll just go over some of these questions that are in the chat real fast. Is there a set yield to port or starboard, Paul?
No. Normally on time trials and so on, there are fixed lanes. Normally, when you're traveling down lane 4, we actually go to the outside, which is lane 3. Sometimes, if you're in lane 5, you go to 6. In this instance, there are no lane lines from Strawberry all the way to the finish. So we ask that if the crew that's coming up on you is on the port side, we're going to ask the overtaking crew to go starboard and vice versa, and just be on a safe to get out of, move to a safe area where you won't be impeding them so they can go by. But like I said, to a point where they can't force you to be in an unsafe position. So if there's three boats across racing and another boat is trying to pass, well, they can't force you off the course. So I hope that answered the question.
Here's a good follow-up question to that one, Paul, from a true competitor. How many boats can fit through an arch?
I would say 2.
Yeah, I would say
Tony,
safely 2.
What do you think, Tony? 2 is it?
Typically 3 can fit through an arch. I mean, a lot of arches are up there are named, especially at Strawberry. You know, we have 1, 2, 3 as an arch and 4, 5, 6 as an arch. When you get down to Columbia, the second arch is also 3 lanes. But you know, the right thing is just go through with 2. But 3 could fit. But if you're racing and you're side by side, it's probably not a good thing. You should probably wait to get through the arch of Columbia, get around the turn, and have that nice long straightaway where then you can choose to go on the outside and then pass somebody.
Yes, I agree. I agree with him on that. The turn out of Columbia makes it very difficult to have more than 2 wide, because you're going to have to cut that turn. And that's where if there's going to be an interference or a failure to yield or a buoy violation, it's going to be in that turn. That's where most of the violations and most of the interferences happen, is coming out of the bridge, past the bridge into the turn.
One of the questions, I can't see it right now, but can you guys see the maps that are up now? The aerials?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is the Columbia Bridge turn that Paul was just referring to. And I think one of the questions related to whether there'd be buoys on this starboard side here as you come around this bootleg. And there will be something, probably just a few large buoys. We talked about this at length, actually. It's a hard part of the river with flow and whatnot to keep something in place well. So there will be some guidance, but this is definitely something that you should talk to your crews about or talk to your bow persons about. And this is really about, coaching and taking that edge. So you definitely do not want to go too wide out here, because you will not have a good alignment coming into the Girard Bridge downstream.
Yeah.
But just be aware that these crews are coming upriver, so you don't want to take it too tight either. But the question about the buoys, there will be a few markers out there if the flows cooperate.
Yes, we were told there's going to be red buoys somewhere between 75 meters apart. And there's supposed to be yellow buoys in between, but I'm not sure if there's going to be yellow buoys or not, but there should be some larger red buoys signifying the starboard lane that goes around the turn. There'll be no other buoys after the turn. There's no starboard other boat. There's going to be no buoys until you get down to the railroad bridge.
Great. And I just wanted to point out this area. So coming under the Amtrak and then the Girard Bridge here, there will be a buoy line where these yellow line, dots are here, just to keep you out of that upcoming upstream traffic. So, you know, this is a good turn here, coming through these bridges, and then you immediately paddle, make the turn, and come upriver. When you are coming up between these bridges, there's also another small, I think we use pool noodles, actually, just to kind of signify over here, not to get too close to the wall. It's really one lane of traffic coming up through, returning to the Three Angels. And that's just because of rocks and whatnot that are underneath the water. So just don't try to squeeze past anybody in that area.
Right. We asked them, it's a good point to be where you're just traveling single file through the bridges if you're coming north.
Yeah. And I just wanted to point out that this is on the website. So if you go to the compete, down to competitors info, and you follow it all the way down to the course map and aerial views, they are here, and you can see the start coming down through the Strawberry Mansion Bridge there.
Right. So the left side of your screen is the upriver traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the you're coming up to the start, and then you'll turn to the left to the West River Drive side, and then we'll get you set to go down what we call lanes 4 and 5. And you'll go down and you'll see the bridge down there, Strawberry Mansion Bridge. Just follow that yellow line and that orange line, stay in between that. That's lanes 4 and 5. And then Strawberry Bridge actually handles, during sprint racing, lanes 4, 5, and 6. So look up on that bridge, your lane markers are up there.
Okay, so just two things outside of the race course I wanted to mention. Practice times, they are Friday from noon until 5:30 would be the last launch, and you have to be off the water by 6 p.m. There is no practice times Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon after racing, no practices. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to note was that in case there was any type of emergency that needed communications that needed to get out to folks, yes, we'll have the race announcing booth. Yes, we have social media to communicate things, but anything like really official that changes things, or if there's an emergency of some sort, lightning, things of that sort, we have a text messaging system that we would use. So we only have in there the phone numbers of those registrants, so those that registered the boat. So just be sure that if that person is not on the call tonight, that you let them know that they would receive a text message with information, and that will only be really used if, again, there's an emergency situation or something, some type of anomaly with the race.
I think there's two other questions. Can you restate this? Can you restate if there are any passing bridges where there is no passing? No, you can pass within the bridges. Obviously, if you cause interference, if you run into another boat, if you take it too wide and you push them over into a bridge, you will get a penalty. But if it's clear, you feel you can pass without causing an interference call, then you can pass under the bridge.
Cool. I see. What is the parking policy during Friday practice? Again, the road is not, Kelly Drive is not shut down. So you're not allowed to park on Kelly Drive. If you have a car top single, you can pull off onto the path below Columbia, just like a trailer would. And you can unload your single We have racks actually available as well at Three Angels, or a lot of people just bring slings or lowboys and find a safe spot on the ground for them. So either way, you can do that. If you're familiar with the canoe house and you want to park in the upper lot of the canoe house parking lot, you are free to do that and go off of those docks as well. Bow numbers are included in the race packet. There'll be a bow number for the boat as well as for the bow person. We will, no, you do not have to provide them, and they do not need to be returned. They are for you to keep. How strict would the 5:45 p.m. limit on Sunday be for getting cars off the drive? We have it set for 6 o'clock. I think we advertised 6 o'clock, and we really have it with the police for 6:30 or so. So it's really cooperating with the cooperation of the police that day, the traffic police, and how quickly they want to get home. There's no Phillies game that day, so I think we'll probably be in better shape. So no, we'll do our best. They don't take the cars very far. If they do tow them, they'll tow them to the lot in the grandstands. But we'll try to avoid that at all costs. And they're usually pretty good about being patient with folks on Sunday. Explain the shortened course again. Absolutely. It's just about 150 meters shy of the traditional course. So it ends 200 meters after the Girard Avenue Bridge. And it is the same as it was in 2021 if you were here then. All right, any other questions?
Jen, there's a couple in the chat that while you were talking that you might want to review those or take a peek at those and then see if you can answer them.
So just for clarification, if we overtake near the bridge, we should overtake someone else by going around, right? You were speaking to that, Paul, so I'm going to let you continue so we don't say different things.
So if you are coming up on a team, you could pass them on the right or you can pass them on the left, whatever you feel is right. The boat that you're overtaking should move to, if you're on the left, then they'll move to starboard. If you're passing on the starboard, they'll move to port. If you're passing under the bridge, you may not have enough room. I personally don't recommend passing under the bridges, especially after Columbia, because you're going into that turn. Could force you wide, it could force them into an unsafe position. But it all depends on where you are in the race course. I mean, there are no lanes from Strawberry Mansion Bridge. Once you get on the other side of Strawberry Mansion, there are no lane lines signifying, any of the lanes. Whether lane 4 and 5 is not coded anymore from that point on down south. So if you're coming up on a boat, or if a boat is coming up on you, you need to know if they're on your port or starboard side, and you need to move to a spot that's won't not impede them. I don't know if that clarifies what they're saying, but I hope that does.
Yeah, and if anybody needs to unmute themselves, they can. There was a question also about the course, and it's approximately 3,800 meters. And there was also a question about uniforms. Yes, we expect folks to be dressed uniformly, but we are not going to cause you not to race because of that. And we do encourage Halloween costumes. So there are cases when people are not in uniform, and that is perfectly fine. Any other questions? I think I got everything in the chat room. If I didn't answer your question, please shout out now. And we really appreciate everybody joining in this evening. Be really safe traveling. And if anybody is driving along Kelly Drive, I just really encourage you to drive slowly. our volunteers are out there on the streets. Many of them are college students. So we appreciate all you can do to keep everyone safe. Be patient on the water, off the water. You know, we're really there to provide a racing opportunity and for everyone to be together as a community and have some fun finishing off their fall season. So we expect everyone to act accordingly. And, you know, we really appreciate everyone supporting the regatta and kind of being part of, you know, this Philadelphia tradition now for 52 years. So if anybody has anything further, you can always write info@hosr.org and we will try to get your questions answered prior to the regatta. And if you have anything question-wise during the regatta, go to the headquarters tent and those folks will help answer your questions. Okay, we'll see everybody at registration. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Hey, Jen, I got a few questions for you.